Your new single from the album Fate of Nations is called 29 Palms. That's the name of a town in California, but it's also the name of a group. Which one is the song about and why?
29 Palms is a little town that used to link the back road from Los Angeles to Las Vegas through the South California desert, and used to link, in fact, Palm Springs to Vegas, so that if everybody wanted to go for weekend gambling, they would take this road that goes up to Route 66. And 29 Palms is a little town which is actually on the dogleg on the highway, which you drive for about 3 hours in a straight line. You hit a red light, and then you hang a left, and then you go for about another 3 hours until you reach Route 66, which is on... there's a sort of, I think it's Ludlow, California, or there was a fantastic town there that was for sale. The entire town was $250,000. A motel, about a gas station. Amboy, California. When I went there, it was for sale. The entire lock, stock, and barrel. Everything that moved, and and everything that could be blown down the highway in the dust. Great place. But I mean, It isn't the significance of the place. It's just these kind of transient love affairs, these sort of situations when you've got the roof down, your elbow out the car, and you know that you're not in Rochdale.
So what's the matter with English place names for songs?
There's something rather turgid about Stoke-on-Trent, even though it's one of the best gigs in the world to play Trentham Gardens. You can't make Stoke-on-Trent somehow work unless you're Billy Bragg. Yeah, I think... you've got to have this sort of fixation, or with the sort of plainness of England, the plainness of it all. But it's, it is what it is. Anyway, 29 Palms sounds much more exotic than it probably really is. It was just that's where I was going, and that's where I went, and that's where I came back from. It's right on the edge of the Joshua Tree National Park, which is the most beautiful area, highlighted in all those YouTube photographs with Anton Corbijn.
More place names for songs?
29 Palms project, musically, I knew about as I wrote the song 2 years ago. So I guess at some point along the line we must have all had the same idea, but it's cool. There's a great place in Scotland for the next single called Rest and Be Thankful, which is on the road to Oban from the edge from Loch Lomond across through the gateway to the Glens, or whatever it is, gateway to the Highlands. So Rest and Be Thankful might be another one.
Why change labels? I thought you were a Warner's man.
No, I've never been a Warner's man. I've never wanted to be anywhere for more than a minute, more than I feel that I should be. Life's too short, and I really don't have the kind of... when you spend so much time making a record, making a selection and a collection of songs which come from somewhere within your body, they're not just something you pluck out the air and you polish it and put it in the showroom and put a price on it. This is like me talking, and the people that I've been working with are talking too. And I really wanted a complete change of scenario outside of America, where I know that my relationship with Ahmet Ertegun and the whole Atlantic situation goes back a long way. But, people come and go outside of that main sort of energy area. And I really wanted to... I was being encouraged, and I was also being discouraged in my thought process and my creative process, probably by my own, volition. I just wanted to make a move. I wanted to do something fresh and see if I could actually, bang a big stick and see what would happen. And I think that kind of corresponds and coincides with the fact that I made quite a natural-sounding album, an album which probably is the most inspired that I've been involved with for years and years. Dumping a lot of the kind of technology that I've been relying on and the kind of technological approach, which was almost swamping the emotive qualities that I should lean on.
Did changing labels make you nervous or frightened?
No, I don't get frightened by anything in particular, really. Maybe being in the bottom three in the first division for my team might be frightening, but that's about the biggest fear that I would have. I think that music has always been and should always remain a challenging medium where the music should demand from the listener and the music should entice the listener, and the situation shouldn't be so instant and finite that you get it all in the first 3 minutes. And I believe that my career and the way that I run my show should keep me interested and stimulated.
Influences on this album come from all over the place, don't they?
The opening track on the album is called Calling to You, and it's a real sort of what I would call an Arab rocker. I spend a lot of my time listening to music that I don't really comprehend, don't really fully understand. I'm intrigued by a lot of the sort of the modern Arab music which is sweeping Germany and France, Rai music, headed by Sheb Khaled. And there's a couple of girl singers now in France, Tunisian girl singers, who are magnificent. And their use of their voice against backing, against the instrumentation, is really exciting. And in the days when I was working with Jimmy and we were writing Kashmir and In the Light and Four Sticks, Friends and stuff, we were always looking to try and bring some kind of bridge between what we thought was interesting Eastern touches with the kind of way that we were feeling about dynamic rock and roll music. So Calling to You has that kind of quality, I think, and I'm very pleased with it. But I had some Indians working with me on a track called Network News, 3 Indian guys who were touring Britain playing classical Indian music, including a violinist, and I couldn't get the guys to play it. They couldn't actually do it because of the way that you count the bars in England, in the West. And the track is a 6/4 time signature. So I got this guy trying to wail away, and he was wobbling his turban everywhere, and it wasn't happening. And I knew that Nige is indestructible and invincible, and also quite obsessed with bridging the gap from his sort of rather cloistered zone of classical music into any other field, So I asked him if he would have a bash at it, and he came in and he was really diligent. He worked hard and he did all the bits and incredible solo sections, and then just said, "Sweet monster." So much so that we get on that Saturday I took him to see the Wolves play, which he laughed at all the way through, and then Sunday he took me yesterday to see Villa beat Man City, and yeah, I think he's right.
There seems to be a lot of Asian music unrecognised in the British music scene.
Yeah, you had Monsoon, that was Sheila Chandra, and you've got the various little labels. Sanachi is a good label where you've got some activity going on. But the thing is, if you take it, if you understand, if this goes out on the independent radio network with sort of in a rock hour, just remember that never mind whether it's Def Leppard or Guns N' Roses or whatever it is, Bhangra music sells more singles in Britain than British pop singles. It's just that they don't go onto the computer, so therefore they're not logged in the Gallup poll, and you don't get them in the window of Woolworths. But it's great, really. That it's interesting and ridiculous that people who should be actually noted in the charts, because when you go to the corner shop and you get a Nusrat Fateh Ali Khan cassette and you get a cheaper poppadom, it ain't going to go on the charts. But maybe that's pretty cool. They don't need accountants, do they?
People always talk about the Zepp reunion, but you seem more interested in working with younger musicians.
I think really that to work with contemporaries who have been around as much as me, or as not as long as me, but have absorbed as much detail as I have, often makes it real difficult to get to the point where you agree on something, because there's so many points of view. I'm very, very lucky in this project now, though, conversely, to have joined forces with Kevin McMichael, who comes from Cutting Crew and has spent many years, he's Canadian, he spent many years in North America playing around and absorbing North American radio, which for me, when I was a kid, I was listening to all the American West Coast stuff, the Moby Grape, Buffalo Springfield, what they call the head music, the underground music before the Zepp and the Cream stuff came along. And he's familiar with that, which with I think with gusto and with real hunger and with a knowledge of some of this stuff, we're making really strong music, which probably won't make drive time all the time. You know, it probably won't be played at that sort of peak listening time. If we put out 4 or 5 singles, we'll start getting into the areas where, you know, it'll be unsuitable. Nevertheless, the combination of youth and fury and a little bit of nous is really hot. And it gives me a band now. I've just stolen the drummer from the Cult, Michael Lee. And so now we have 3 guitars, because the keyboard player, Phil, has been told that he can only touch the keyboard twice in the show, and the rest of the time it's mandolin and electric guitar. And it's really unbelievably powerful. And it's great, you know? And I'm standing, weaving through it all, going, am I really singing through all this stuff? It's so exciting. And we start touring Europe shortly, and I should be opening the show for Lenny Kravitz. So I'm really looking forward to starting off the night with a thunder and lightning.
Working with musicians like Richard Thompson and Mari Brennan of Clannad might seem unusual for the world's greatest rock singer, but you've always had a Celtic folky side, haven't you?
Approaching Richard Thompson, I mean, when he was working with Fairport originally, Led Zeppelin was playing around the pubs in England, and we kind of crossed paths so many times in the early days when we were recording things like Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You, Your Time Is Gonna Come, Ramble On, through really until he left the group, I guess, Battle of Evermore, and in fact into Stairway to Heaven. So there was a lot of acoustic-based groundwork in the Zepp mechanism, and we've always known each other and waved across the room. He's gone off with Linda and gone off post Linda where he's gone, and we've all gone our separate ways. But I do visit Cropredy as often as I can and pay homage to the Fairport myth. And they have a magnificent festival every year in August near Warwick. Oh, I sang last year with Fairport on their 25th anniversary. I did Girl from the North Country by Dylan and a couple of Zepp songs. And the boys, they pulled their stomachs in. And Dave Pegg was going to get a wig, you know. And it was really, really good. No pressure. 12,000 people, a lot of young people into a more mellow form of music. So Richard Thompson is a guy who I'd always like to think I could work with, you know, providing he's into it. And he heard the song and thought it was great. And yeah, 3 hours and he's gone.
That Celtic tradition was expressed even in Stairway to Heaven.
There was never a Zeppelin album that was just a matter of fact, a matter of course. And the most renowned song that our friendly decorator covered recently is basically an acoustic-based folk song, which develops into a thunderous roar at the end, you know. But yeah, there's room for everything, and it's just one string to the bow that I've got, you know. And Nigel's got the fiddle. I think, I mean, remembering that Moira Brennan's come into my life from Clannad, and she just said, wow, this is beautiful, I'll just do this. And she just did what she does. I'm singing in a style that I've never used before. At the end, I suddenly get off in this sort of black scat vocal, which I don't know where it came from, but it works.
This is the first album where you've worked with a producer. Did you find that hard?
Well, I never had a producer before. I never had an A&R man, and I never had a load of the things that I'm blessed with now. And I guess Chris and I took a while to really come to terms with each other. First of all, I'm a bundle of fury, and I kind of bluster along, crashing off the walls, looking for the ultimate vocal or whatever it is. And Chris has been used to working with situations which could take a year to finish. Tears for Fears took a year. Now, if you've got the patience to do that, where I deal in spontaneity if I can, that is the remnant of rock and roll. The Beatles took an afternoon to make their first album, and Zeppelin took 36 hours. And I mean, that is making records. So Chris's idea of looking into a computer screen and waiting for the result, for me, I was going, look, there's something radically wrong here, kid. This ain't right. But I mean, we grew more and more and more into the plot. And eventually, when we made it sound more organic and we got it sounding really natural but competent and a bit exotic, then I'd learnt from him and he learnt from me, and it's a marriage made in heaven now.
Do you still look for an element of danger in the music you make?
That's the whole thing about this game, is that it is a game and it should carry impromptu hiccups and mistakes. It should be rather like some of those intros in the early rock and roll songs where they went on 4 bars too long. And when the bands fake them now, they fake the extra 4 bars that were wrong. Watch Your Step by Bobby Parker, for instance, and loads. You know, I mean, it's got to have some flippance. It's got to have some nuance, some accident. It's got to be... Initially, it was youth music played by youths for youths, which nobody over the age of 24 could get in those 50s days when the Poison Ivy League developed and everybody had seersucker suits on and drove, you know, Buick 8s by the time they were 26 and had moved on. Now, this whole game now is such a commercial... has such commercial aspirations that you can't get lost in it too much. You can't keep waiting for the ultimate idea. When you're recording, it's got to be done, you know. But we still managed to make it work, you know, despite, you know, Chris waiting for that ultimate plot here and there.
The track, Network News, seems to have been inspired by the Gulf War and its techno-infidels.
Network News was born on my son's birthday when he was sleeping in his bedroom, and it was late at night, and I popped the satellite news station on, and I saw this photograph of a window in a hotel and lights behind it, and I heard that these 2 guys were crouching behind the window looking out into the streets of Baghdad, and their details were so sort of florid and sort of coloured by news jargon. I sat horrified while they recounted all of this sort of missiles picking their way down streets and round corners and turning sharp left and stopping at stoplights. And I was horrified at the fact that it went on for so long that in the end we could accept so much carnage, almost like we could accept the rerun of an ad, a commercial. And I just felt really sad that we'd aspired to such sort of dizzy heights as a kind of media operation that now even death and even the same shot, the same photograph, could be reproduced time after time and be acceptable. And I think that human dignity somehow or another ought to be preserved.
Led Zeppelin always avoided the media, but on your own, you caught them.
Well, promotion and the whole idea of letting people know where you're coming from is, I think, just part of the game now. I think the elusive, mysterious man in the corner who creates myth by saying nothing is a thing of the past. And I'm proud of what I do, and I feel strongly about several sort of topics, and I'm very proud of the kind of combination of people I'm working with. So I guess if I keep my mouth shut, you know, if one song doesn't kick in, then the time it takes for people to be interested is shortened, you know. So I play the game, only to a degree. I tell no lies.
Why do a cover, and why do If I Were a Carpenter?
If I Were a Carpenter was one of the major songs that John Bonham and I used to play before Led Zeppelin, when we had a band called A Band of Joy. And it was really happening in those days, and it was a beautiful song written by a great songwriter, Tim Hardin. And I think it's part of the vibe for me to actually touch on a song that's as pretty as that and try and bring it into my work right now. It's the way, you know, it's kind of the way I feel to play a song like that.
So still doing it at 44, is this work or pleasure?
Every living breath is a maximum plus. It's just great to be around, to tell lies, to have my Friday nights, to watch walls become even more dismal, you know, to make excuses for friends. You know what I mean? I'm all right. I'm happy.
How does Fate of Nations differ from the recent Coverdale Page collaboration?
The marriage of the musicians, I think, in the end. I think the combination of... and the control, you know, bearing in mind that I don't want to make the album that I've heard made recently by an old contemporary pal of mine. I mean, I'm after weaving some kind of tired Celtic magic still, you know, and I want to make music that leaves me really proud. And I think that at the end of this project I had, and I've just left him now at this video viewing thing that we've been to, that I've had with me the best combination of crackpot optimists who can really make the ground shake, you know. And that's what we developed on this record. slowly but surely we pulled it together.
Why do it? Why not retire?
Well, I just want to enjoy myself, and there's no point in going around the world playing. I mean, I've got so many gigs now playing with Jesus Jones and Shaman and Wonder Stuff, Neil Young, Black Crows, Lenny, the Def Leopards. And I really want to go out there and do what I'm doing and mean it and say, hey, and have you heard it like this? And then start some kind of really weird Arab shake, senora. But at the same time, a whole lot of love will come bustling through in the set as well, So yeah, it's not dangerous. It's a career, man. I mean, it's a life in music, and I'm getting the best out of it.
Is radio ready for Fate of Nations?
I'd like to think that there's a possibility of an attention span being redefined and redeveloped in music listening. But that really is determined nowadays by radio, because people are now subservient and slaves to the radio. And if you've got the under a fiver column most of the day on a lot of the radio stations, then they're going to play music that's appropriate, And maybe 29 Palms and Carpenter will fit in there. And maybe they'll be the doors that lead people to calling to your network news. I mean, that's what I'd like to think. I mean, when we were doing big business years ago, there was a whole movement of kids who didn't give a hoot about the radio and completely ignored the TV. And radio in America latched onto that, and radio was so stimulating in America then. It was fantastic. 1 minute you'd have Ravi Shankar, the next minute you'd have Miles Davis, and then Howlin' Wolf, Led Zeppelin, Hendrix, incredible string band. That was all on one program, beamed specially to people who were into music. Here in Britain and a lot in Europe, you've got radio that is appropriating the imaginations of the masses and saying, hey, this is all these people want, So you get great balls of fire and a whole lot of shaking going on with a bass drum bumping underneath, and you call it a wedding reception. Radio's one massive wedding reception in some places.
Can music help the world improve?
I think we really got to try and get positived up a bit, I mean, we're in a situation on this planet where we need all the help we can get, and we need to give all the help we can give. And people are jaded and upset from the promises of, Thatcher's Britain. And the kind of false economy of, that it's kind of left behind. And there's no point in being emotionally destitute forever. Let's pick ourselves up. Let's make some music that makes people feel a bit better.